Welcome back, guys, to yet another War of the Visions video. Today we're going over the best MR and SR and even some R units for you to get your hands on in War of the Visions, and why you should be working on these characters even if you have URs that you want to be working on. And this isn't URs are expensive, so you need to be working on MR and SRs. These units can stand out, and it's going to be for these reasons in particular. So this is going to be a good source of information for you, your friends, anyone else who wants to get started in War of the Visions or fulfill a bigger team. We do have some events that are coming out down the road, namely the tower event that we know of, that you're going to want to have multiple units do specific things. And so we're going to go over a lot of cool stuff here in this video. Thanks for coming and hanging out, spending some time here today, and thank you guys once again for supporting the channel via Patreon as well as YouTube sponsorships. You guys make everything here possible. And let's begin. So the first two units we're going to be going over quite quickly, and only because they were time limited and you guys might not have access to them, we're going to be going over Gafgarian as well as Y'shtola. If you have access to these characters and you don't have a character that you've worked on yet that fits the criteria that we're about to talk about, these guys, as long as you have the ability to awaken them all the way up, you collected their shards during the event, should be being worked on your account. So Gafgarian here, very strong damage dealer. He is very weak when it comes to the physical tanking side of his character kit, but he does do a lot of damage here. He critically hits very hard due to his master ability of 25%, and he has got some very nice skills to be using with the passives that he has. So he's got self-sacrifice for 60% passive attack increase, attack up level 1 for 20% additional attack increase there. You can also make him a little bit tankier if you're doing harder content with the HP 15%, but the real mainstay is his big Fell Knight job. We have access to Deception for Human Killer. A lot of the enemies in the game are Human Killer, and we have Abyssal Blade and Shadow Blade for big multipliers worth of damage, as well as Traitorous Blade that has a guaranteed critical hit. He also has a little bit of evasion with Field Lore, and then he has Unholy Sacrifice for a big AoE damage dealing hit here. With this skill here, it does take a little bit of HP to use it, but you're definitely going to be using this to do big AoE damage in PvE encounters to take out a lot of enemies. Y'shtola is very much the same way. She's going to be a very solid MR damage dealer for you. She also offers a little bit of extra healing and utility through her White Mage and Green Mage jobs. She has access to her own special skills such as Ethereal Manipulation to restore some CT if you run into an ally with her teleport. Pretty decent range on the teleport there. She has AoE damage with Xenoglossy, a little bit of AoE damage with Scion's Phyra. She also has access to Sharp Cast to increase her magic by 50% for a couple of turns, and then she also has access to Foul for that big AoE fire damage that we all know and love when farming up those damage things where you need to destroy a bunch of enemies at one time. Complete those missions where it's defeat X amount of characters at the same time. She also has Holy from her White Mage subclass, as well as Kirata and Kira and Protect and Shell, as well as Raise, but she can offer a little bit of support that way as well. So very solid characters there. Now the next one we're going to be talking about is Mont. I know a lot of you guys ignore Mont. If you guys don't have a tank that you've been working on whatsoever, if you didn't pull like a UR tank, you're not working on them, this should be the tank that you're looking at. Don't look at an SR tank or anyone else, even other MR tanks. If you're looking for the best bang for your buck, it's going to be Mont. This is because he's got the best of all of the worlds there. He's pretty easy to level up as well. He has Lord, Paladin, and Knight, and this is going to help you out a lot, especially since when you level him up, you're going to be gaining access to his TMR, which is Rallying Cry for an agility boost. Agility is the best stat in the game, so you're going to be able to have an extra ability. Put this on anyone who can wear a Trustmaster Reward accessory. You'll be able to put this on anyone and increase your team's agility by a couple percent there, up to 15% if you level the ability up for 3 turns, and this does stack 2 times as well. So very strong kit there with his TMR. Now he also has access to some very strong passives. We have Holy Knight's Protection. He's got the 12 defense, 12% HP passive. You can make him even bulkier with 15% HP on top of that, or you can give him an attack buff of 30% with the Crown Prince of Leonis passive for 30% there. He also has 2 good counters. He's got the Paladin Guard and the Sword Guard. Paladin Guard, very strong, 45% mitigation when it activates against physical damage, but he also has Sword Guard that is 30% all damage redirected, and reduced by 30%. So very strong there with the Sword Guard. If you're going up against some mages enemies, you're going to be using Sword Guard. If you know you're going up against all physical damage dealers, you can use the stronger mitigation of Paladin's Guard there. His main job does have access to a couple of cool skills. He has access to Killer Blade. We talked about Human Killer, 25% being strong. He also has Beast Breaker, so two of the more common enemy types in War of the Visions he has covered for you on that front as well. And then with his Paladin sub job here, we have Sentinel, Taunting Blade for additional tanking abilities there. We have Immortal Spirit that keeps him from dying if something was to actually kill him in one hit or finish him off. You have access to that too. And then if you want some more supportive options, you can go Knight and get some magic breaks, agility breaks, a little bit of HP restoration. Very strong things there, and an attack break on top of that. So Mont has a lot of good things for you, a lot of utility, a little bit of damage, and he can offer that solid tankiness that a lot of other characters just really don't have around his level, with just the raw utility he has as a character. If you haven't leveled up Mont, you don't have a tank, you definitely should be putting effort into leveling that character up. He's mentioned in almost every video for good reason when it comes to leveling characters and new player guides. Now, let's talk about Grace. Grace is a great character that is often very much overlooked by a lot of the community. Anytime someone asks me, I don't have a Yaka, I don't have a healer, what should I use? I was like, do you have Grace? Grace is very, very, very strong. She has access to White Mage and Green Mage. Her third class Lancer isn't that great, but the reason Grace is very strong is not only due to her White Mage and Green Mage jobs, but she's also very, very bulky for a healer, and this is because of her mastery ability and her passives that she has. Her mastery ability gives her slashing, piercing, striking, missile, and magic resist by 10%. It also increases her passive magic by 20% there. In addition to that, on her board, she will get 10% all elemental resistance, and then on top of that, she's also just naturally very resistant to every damage type in the game. She's resistant before her mastery ability. She's 25% resist to slashing, piercing, striking, and missile damage, and 40% resistant to magic damage. You apply her mastery on top of that, she's gonna be 35% resistant to those 4 physical types and 50% resistant to magic damage. Now, her HP isn't the greatest in the world, but once you start building up espers and get your affiliation with those espers built up and get some vision cards leveled up, get some gear for her, you're going to sort of mitigate that HP weakness. You can get her pretty bulky, 2,500 HP, 2,600 HP once you have her leveled up and gear on her, and those resistances are going to go through the roof, especially if you build for them via other vision cards and things of that nature. In espers, put the right espers on her, she can get incredibly bulky against a lot of stuff. Speaking of bulk, she has Savior's Protection as a passive here. You want 12% more magic resistance, you've got it. She has March of the Saints for Nullified Doom, if that ever becomes a thing. She also has Emerald Echo, so her buffs and debuffs last 1 turn longer. For counters, she has Regenerator. This is going to put auto regen on her if she does take damage and counters with that. She has a Dispel counter that will dispel all debuffs as well as haste when she gets hit there. So pretty cool thing. If you eventually make her bulky enough, she can even survive some hits in the arena. And if you hit him with Dispel counter, guess what? All of those buffs are gone. So pretty cool thing there as well. Now for her main job, she has White Mage. So we have all the good stuff. We have Full Life, we have Holy, we have Kiraga, we have Asuna, we even have Cure. If you put her on White Mage sub job, we gain access to Protect and Shell and Kirata and Kira. Very strong stuff there. Now if you use her as Green Mage, she gets access to Ruin for more damage that you can do there. She also gains access to Vitalize, which is a 25% agility buff. Now it's not as good as something like haste, but unlike haste, it increases your agility, so it's going to increase not only how fast you are, but it's also going to increase your evasion rate by a little bit there. So it's sort of like a fake haste. You can use this very strong in a lot of things there. She also has access to D-Protect and D-Shell, so you can use this in PvE. You put D-Protect or D-Shell, one of the two, on a boss, or maybe even both, so you can hit them even harder if you don't have a defense or spirit down effect from another character. The Lancer sub job, not very good on her, although you may be able to do some memey things with a Lancer sub job in her Trustmaster or the Magicite staff, because it has a 15% chance to inflict disable. A little bit of a meme, but Grace, if you don't have a healer, guys, you're looking for an MR character to invest in on a healer. Very, very strong, very, very bulky. I even have her leveled up, and she does do a lot of work out there. She just kind of sits there, is bulky, tanks everything up, and just heals right on through it. So very strong character to invest in War of the Visions. Now, next up, we've heard about her a lot. This is going to be Shadowlynx, the Ninja Dragoona Samurai. Her mastery ability kind of tells you all about what she's good at. 25% attack, 15% evasion. So very strong offensive character. It is going to be extremely hard to hit in a lot of circumstances due to having access to the samurai job. This is because it gives you access to the Blade Soul support passive, which is going to give you 25% more attack as well as 12% more evasion. So right off the bat with Blade Soul up, you're going to have 27% evasion without any gear, any other sort of passives. Very strong. She has a pretty decent amount of base luck through her board and her job selection: ninja, samurai, dragoon. If you want more agility, more luck, she has Shadowrunner, one of the better passives in the game. She has Shikuchi as well, another good passive in the game. She's got 3 of the best passives in the game, and this is just because the Blade Soul passive, Shadowrunner, and Shikuchi are just some of the best things for mobility and evasion rate in a lot of encounters there. And it's because of these very high evasion rate passives, you can use her as a tank in both PvE and PvP as well. You give her something like Vow of Love, which increases your enmity as soon as the battle starts, and you give her some evasion gear. You maybe put an evasion and luck card in your party that has a party ability that gives you additional evasion, and you set her on Samurai so she has the evasion buff from the activated skill here from Samurai, which is going to be Illusion for 25% more evasion on top of that, and she's going to be running around at the speed of sound and light, and enemies aren't going to be able to touch her. So you can actually use her as a tank in a lot of circumstances there. Now in PvP, you're gonna have to watch out that people don't use guaranteed hit attacks on you, because she's gonna be pretty squishy in that build. But if you're using her in PvE and enemies can hit you, then you're gonna be tanking up a lot of and just ignoring a lot of damage with that crazy high agility and dodge that you can get on this character. Now outside of that, she does still have the ninja basics, right? She's got Shuriken, Shadowbind, Utsusemi for 60% evasion for 1 turn, Dream Within a Dream to build chains for you to increase the damage of your team by a lot. Very strong there as well. She has access to things such as Dragon's Roar, which not a lot of people talk about, but Dragon's Roar is actually a pretty decent skill here because it can decrease bravery by 43 bravery. So for PvE, this is going to be a skill that you can AoE right next to you, reduce bravery by 43. This is going to start shaving the enemy's bravery down by a significant amount. 43, that's a lot, right? You max out at 97, 100 in battle, you can go down by 43. Bravery increases the physical damage that anyone does. So if you shave the boss's bravery down, then they're going to start doing less and less damage to you. So you can use this in your tanking role as well. If you want to do that, you have the evasion buff from somebody else, right? Like Illusion. You can start running into bosses' faces, and in case they do hit you, you lower their bravery with Dragon's Roar. It can help you out there as well. So a lot of cool stuff. All the samurai abilities she has are really good. Evasion, Night Veil for the blind. She has a teleport with Hayate, so you can get around a lot faster. It's 3 spaces instead of the ninjas teleport that you could use with Poison Mist, which is 4 spaces there. But very strong abilities on Shadowlynx, very strong character. Now the next one we're going to be going over is actually O. O is very similar to Shadowlynx, and this is because just like Shadowlynx, he has 15% dodge, and he also has 20% attack as a mastery ability. He is a samurai main job and a ninja sub job, where Shadowlynx was ninja main job, samurai sub job. So Mr. O here is going to be very similar to her in all aspects. He does still have Blade Soul, so you get that double evasion before gear, makes him even dodgier, right? He still has Shadowrunner, and he still has Shikuchi, so 3 of the best passives in the game. He also has access to those. If you want to use him as a straight damage dealer, though, you don't want to do the tanking thing with him. He also has attack up level 1 for that extra 20% attack. If you want to use Blade Soul for the 25% attack, and attack up for the 20% attack, that is allowed there. For counters, he's got Third Eye, which every time he's attacked, whether he dodges it or he gets hit, he's got a 20% chance to increase his evasion by another 10% as well. It's another thing that you can do with these 2 characters right here, due to them both having Third Eye. So that's another cool thing about them. As far as skills, he's going to look very similar to Shadowlynx, right? Because he's main job samurai, so he's got the samurai teleport, he's got access to Hien, he's got Obrozuki for slow, and Kongo for the big 200% multi multiplier with machine and stone killer buff there. He has illusion as the sub samurai ability. He has access to Night Veil still, and he's got devotion as his attack buff of choice with critical hit rate up and 30% attack. From ninja, if you go ninja on him, you're going to gain access to Utsusemi, Hide, Raiton, Poison Mist, Shuriken, and Decider of Fate. Really not the greatest things ever, but if you want some ranged attack through Shuriken and a teleport that reaches longer distances, you can use that there with Poison Mist. And if you want that big evasion buff, right, if you are making him tank in PvE, you can get that big 60% evasion buff for one turn with Utsusemi there. So another character that really shouldn't be overlooked between these two. The biggest difference between O and Shadowlynx, even though they both have Shikuchi for the movement +1 and jump +1, O's base movement is 3 and jump is 1, whereas Shadowlynx's base movement is 4 and jump of 3, which means that with Shikuchi, Shadowlynx moves 5 spots, where O moves 4 spots. So that's the biggest difference between the two of them, but they're both very good at their roles there. Now the next one here we're going to be talking about is Margaret. Margaret I had in like my MR reroll video because she's a very strong supportive character, and if you put some effort into her, she becomes even better for you guys out there. So she's Time Mage, Black Mage, and Red Mage. Her master abilities increases her max TP by 15%, and she gets 30 magic attack bonus, so it's going to add 30 to her magic attack mods. Very strong there. Just like any other mage, she's very weak to most physical damage types in the game, 10% weakness to everything, and then 5% resistant to magic there. Now her supportive abilities, she has access to speed cast from having access to Time Mage, so it's going to make her cast her spells quite a bit faster, reduces the CT you need by 250, so from 1000 down to 750. Initial AP up, so she gains access to more AP at the start of the battle, so she can cast magic faster right off the bat. She has access to more spells cast without needing to regain that AP. She also has 30% magic up with magic up level 1. And if you need to raise her resistance to magic damage, she has Mage's Protection. A lot of you guys are going to use Speed Cast and Magic Up 1. That's going to get the most amount of spells off in the quickest amount of time. That's what her go-to combo is going to be there for most of you guys there. For counters, she has Magic Reflex. If you want to dodge some magic damage, you can do that. She has Slow Counter, so if she gets hit and doesn't die, she has the option to reduce their speed with Slow if it procs. And then she also has Magic Counter. If she gets hit, you can go ahead and do a little clap back with that magic damage, non-element magic damage there. A lot of you guys are just going to slap magic counter on her. She's probably not going to use all that much in PvP, but you could use her as a mage of sorts in PvP as well. We'll get more into that in the future here if that's what you're going to do there. But her Time Mage, she has access to Comment, Quicken, Stop, and Meteor, and if you make her a main Time Mage, she has access to the all-important Haste spell. So Haste is going to be the big thing for her that you can learn. You can learn this at job level 3, so that's pretty good there. You can learn it pretty fast. You have to keep her as Time Mage, though, in order to gain access to Haste. The cool thing about her, though, is that no matter what job she is on, as soon as you learn them, she will always have Meteor, which is very strong, 220% mod, non-elemental, and Quicken, which is going to give someone their turn right away. So if you don't have anything to do with Margaret, you want to make your biggest damage-dealing character go better and faster and stronger and harder, then you can use Quicken, and your big character can take their normal turn. Margaret's turn comes up, you quicken them, and that character is going to take their turn immediately. Again, you can have them double down. You can do a lot of cool things with Quicken. It's a very strong skill once you learn how to use it correctly. Very, very, very cool stuff, because you can have your biggest, strongest character you've been working on literally just take 2 times as many turns as they're supposed to, and that's very powerful. And that's why haste is also so very strong as well. You can haste Margaret. The faster Margaret goes, the more she can quicken somebody, and then you're going to be getting into these chains where these characters are taking a bunch of turns that they just shouldn't be taking naturally. So very strong supportive options as a time mage between haste and quicken. Black Mage, though, is if you want her to do a little bit more stuff on her own. She's going to have access to Faraga, but notably she does not get Flare, guys. Remember, her big damage dealing skill is actually Meteor, and she has that no matter what job. She gets 4 casts of Meteor, 220% multiplier there. If you want to have a little bit of AoE damage, though, she has Faraga and Fyra as a Black Mage. She also will have access to Drain on Black Mage as well. So that's a thing that you gain access to there. And then on Red Mage here, if you want her to do a little bit of healing, this is going to be one of her cool things here. She has access to Kira, Asuna as well on Red Mage. And if you want to do a little bit of crowd control, she has sleep on top of that. Now there is also a cool thing here too, which is a fast cast, which is a buff that you can put on somebody that reduces the activation times of their cast. Anything that has a cast time, right, whether it's a jump or burst slash from Thancred or an actual spell, it's going to reduce the amount of CT gauge you need to be using by another 350. So if Margaret puts this on herself, it's going to need to reduce the CT from 1,000 by 350, so it's going to go down to 650. But remember, she has that passive as well, which you can put on her, which is going to be another 250. So 350 plus 250, that's going to be 600 CT reduction. So instead of needing to go to 1,000 on a lot of her spells, she's going to need to go down to up to 400 to charge that. Meteor traditionally is a 400 or 200 max cast time, which means it needs 5 speed cycles. If you don't understand what that is, don't worry. I'm going to be having a video on all the math coming out real soon for you guys. You can check that one out. But this is going to basically make Meteor cast more than twice as fast as it should usually. So another cool thing she can do there with Red Mage is if you have a lot of mages, you can not only quicken them, but you can also give them the fast cast buff. So when they get their turn, they'll be casting their spells out lickety split. So a lot of cool stuff to do with Margaret. Don't underestimate her. That's why she was mentioned in the reroll video as a very strong MR support character, but later on she gets a little more breath put into her, being able to heal, quicken, do damage, a bunch of cool stuff like that. Now we have Murmur here. This is gonna be the first SR character that we're going to mention here, and she does have some cool things that she can do here. She is an earth character. She is red mage and black mage, and then her third job, like her sister, is Lancer. But just like her sister, her master ability is not only magic plus 20%, but slash, pierce, striking, missile, and magic resistance 10%. And then on top of that, just like her sister, she has all element resist 10%. And then just like her sister, she also has a lot of natural damage resistances. Most mages are weak to all the physical types and a little bit strong against the magic type. But this one here, she's got 15 striking, or 15 slashing, excuse me, 10 piercing, 45 striking, and 15 missile resistance, and then 45% magic resistance. That's before her master ability, which increases them all by another 10%, and that's before her 10 element resistance passive. So she doesn't have a lot of HP because of her SR rarity, and also she's penalized a little bit due to her design of having these resistances. But like we talked about with her sister Grace, the stronger your espers get and the stronger your vision cards get, and the more you can craft gear with a decent amount of HP in it, 200 300 HP, the more that HP weakness goes away and the better that these resistances get. And that's really how those three sisters work together in tandem. That's how you want to build them. You want to build up their HP a little bit, but also you want to maximize the resistances through other means, through other vision cards, through other espers, and you're going to hit this nice sweet spot where you have a good amount of HP, 2,000, 3,000 HP, depending on what sister we're talking about, but you can hit up to 70, 80, 90% of resistances to certain damage types, and they are going to be a brick wall when hit with that type of damage. For support skills, though, we have the traditional magic up 30% here. We have magic resistance 15%. We have 25% critical hit rate, which is pretty cool. We also have the initial AP up here. A lot of the times you guys will be going for magic up 30% and critical hit 25. The critical hit's going to help you out, right? Because you're not going to have a bunch of dexterity for being an SR unit. So this is going to naturally just increase your critical hit chance, which is going to help you do more damage. And then the magic up is going to increase your magic damage dealt as well. For counters here, we have counter thrust, counter magic, and magic reflex here. A lot of you guys, just like before, are you going to sticking with magic counter here to do more damage in player versus environment situations here. Now her main job is red mage. It comes with Stonera, Kira, and fast cast. So we talked about those abilities already. So she's got damage and she's got healing right off the bat, no matter what job you put her into. These are her main skills that are active no matter what is going on. And she also has jamming thrust, which is a big 200% multiplier. It casts immediately. It's not an actual spell, but it still is a magic attack. So very, very strong, and it has a nice range. As you can see, it's got a very nice range of 5 there. Instant cast, and if an enemy is trying to cast or channel a spell and you hit them with it, it's going to cancel it when that happens. So pretty cool stuff there. And she has a 38 spirit break, so she can reduce spirit by 38 there with her resistance break, regardless of what sub job she's set at. Now if you set her as red mage, she's only going to gain 2 extra spells, Asuna and sleep, so you don't really gain a whole lot from setting her as red mage, which leaves her free to equip stuff like black mage. Now black mage, unlike her sister, which kind of didn't really get a whole lot of spells, she actually gets the big bomb flare here, so 322% damage that's a very strong skill. So a lot of the times you're gonna be having her on a black mage, if only for flare. She also gains access to drain and sleep and Stonera again for some reason, and bio and osmos, but a lot of it's going to be here for flare. So you're going to have flare as well as jamming thrust for her two big abilities. Those are very, very strong hitting skills, very high multipliers. So in moments where you need to do a lot of damage, you don't care about waiting a little bit for the cast to go off, you'll use flare. When you need that instant speed, I need to kill them now, you'll have access to jamming thrust. Now also to help you cast that flare a little bit faster, she's going to have fast cast. So if you want to prepare to do a bunch of damage to a boss or to a target later on in a couple turns, you can fast cast yourself, and then your flare is going to cast even faster. You can get that off a little bit faster there and do that damage when it matters. The Lancer sub job is really just going to be ignored here. The only thing you'd ever take it for is Sharp Spear to get that extra 38 crit, but the rest of this stuff, piercing damage, piercing damage, piercing damage, piercing damage, piercing damage, and you're just not going to use this stuff. So you're going to be using flare 99% of the time on black mage. So that's going to be Murmur here. Very strong character to work on, and I've even seen a lot of people do a lot of good things, and I've seen some friends actually do good things in the arena to people who aren't suspecting a max slashing damage resistant Murmur dropping flare in Orlando's face, and it's pretty funny when it happens because she's earth, she resists lightning, he's slashing damage, you get a right build up there where she's got like 80-90% slashing resist, and it's a fun time. It's a fun time that you can do that and beat him down with an SR character. Now the next character to talk about, guys, is going to be none other than Phoebe. Phoebe, High Mage, Dragoon, White Mage. She's going to be very similar to the likes of Grace. She's like a budget Ayaka. We'll call her budget Ayaka. She's an SR character. She starts out as Time Mage and goes to White Mage here, guys. So her master ability is 20% agility. That's going to help her to move a little bit faster. Remember, she's an SR character, so her base stats aren't as high as a UR character or even an MR character would be. She also has move +1 as a master ability, so she's gonna be able to get around the map pretty fast. So she's gonna work very similar to Ayaka would, but in reverse a little bit. She's gonna have 4 movement instead of 3, which is gonna help her out, and she's gonna be Time Mage, White Mage. That's what most people use Ayaka as. So let's scroll down here, and like most mages, she's weak to a lot of the physical stuff, and as traditional other Time Mages and White Mages do, she has the Speed Cast, very strong passive for getting your heals and buffs off faster, and she also does have access to HP plus 15% from the Dragoon sub job. These are probably going to be the main two that you're going to be using here on her. Her counter, she has Slow Counter, Dragon's Blade, and Regenerator. A lot of the time you guys are going to be using Slow Counter or Regenerator for PvE. Probably Regenerator. Slow Counter can also be used though, whatever it is that you want. You want her to heal herself a little bit better, free of charge, and you use Regenerator. If you want to maybe reduce some buffs being up, or reduce the speed of an enemy, then you'll be using Slow Counter there for your liking. Now, main job, Time Mage, she has Quicken once again though, so she's gonna have Quicken, Meteor Stop, Immobilize, and Comet for her main job Time Mage skills. This means that if you want to have access to haste, you need to become a Time Mage. She'll gain haste, float, slow, and transposition. A lot of these skills for PvE don't really matter that much, so if you want to have access to haste, you're going to need to keep her Time Mage. So a lot of the time you're going to be using her Time Mage and White Mage though, because this gives her access to more abilities, right? If you're going Time Mage, you're really only gaining access to haste, sadly, but if you go White Mage, you get Asuna, Cura, Cure, Protect, Raise, Shell, Curata in full life, which is a very nice one there. So she'll still have the very important spell Quicken that we talked about before, and she'll have a pretty fleshed out healing capability here as well. So this is going to be something for you guys to get in there and utilize if you are looking for another healer type character. You don't have access to Grace. Phoebe is a solid pick there with her Time Mage, White Mage abilities. Think of her as a cure. Think of her as a healer who, if you don't really need to heal or anything in that moment, you can just give her Turn Away with Quicken and give it to another damage dealer or your tank or something. That's where she really starts to shine, is she's not going to ever have a dead turn, right? Your healer comes up, not really a wasted slot because you don't need to heal, so just quicken somebody with her and give her Turn Away. Now we have Naya here, which is going to be White Mage, Red Mage, Cleric. Let's go in here. She's main job White Mage. Very familiar with this already. We've seen this sort of combination before. She's going to have Cure, Asuna, Curaga, Holy, Regen, and Full Life. So the big ones, Full Life, Curaga, Cure, and Holy here as well on Naya. For sub-job White Mage, she will gain access to Protect, Shell, Curata, Raise, and Kira, very similar to Grace. But if you want some other aspects of the character to be fleshed out, she's going to have access to Cleric, which gives you access to Erase, which will erase all debuffs on you. And if you're going up against light or dark based enemies, you can actually go a Cleric for Light Veil and Dark Veil on top of that. Now, one other thing that she can do for you is if you don't have an agility down buff and you are using Naya and you're taking her to boss fights, and she's going to be your budget healer support character, and you go Cleric on her, and this is enough, right, of healing for you, Kiraga, regen, and full life. That's enough healing for you. You can go Cleric on her, and an agility down 20% is actually a pretty strong option, right? If you have someone hasting your allies and you have Naya for the 20% agility down, you're going for a boss buster build with your team comp, which a lot of you guys should. You want your characters to go as fast as possible in comparison to the big boss. This is going to reduce their agility by a fair amount, and it's going to help you do a bunch of damage to the boss, because the less the boss gets to go and the more your characters get to go in comparison means you get to hit it more before it takes its turn, which means you get to build chains up larger and longer, and it's going to give you a huge amount of bonus damage. So a small little thing there with Prong Staff. Don't look over it too hard there, because the other option here is Red Mage, Kira, Fyra, Asuna, Sleep, and Resistance Break. I wouldn't mess with that. If I was going to take her to a lot of fights here, if I had the healing covered with White Mage, which you guys should, between Kiraga, Holy, which doesn't heal, but between Kiraga, Regen, which can heal a little bit per turn, and Full Life here in case someone dies, you just fully revive them. You're gonna have a lot of healing there just in that, and then you can also just bring her Cleric for the Prong Staff there and the Erase in case you get hit by a very nasty debuff. So that's gonna be something to look at there with Naya. I know some people are using her. I didn't want anyone to forget about her, so let's go on to the next one here, and this is gonna be a trio review of Vadim, Vistral, and Mia, actually, as well as none other than Zazan. So these characters, they all can do different things, but they all share one thing in common. They are all thieves. Some of them have some other things. Some of them do more damage in comparison to the other ones, right? Because we have people like, who's probably the best one for damage, which is Vistral, because he's Thief Soldier, so he's got the Soldier pass, so he's got the Soldier skills, so he's got access to Self-Sacrifice, he's got access to the big Soldier damage dealing skills like Hard Slash and Hard Spin and all of those really good things, the Hazard Form buff, all of that really strong stuff. But the thing that they all have in common is they're all thieves, and thieves do some very important things. We just kind of talked about it with Naya in her agility down debuff, but we have two very strong things that thieves can do, and these ones can do them very well. And this is going to be either Steal Heart or Steal Time. So these two skills, when going into bosses, when you're doing harder content, a lot of you guys out there are going to want some sort of thief. I don't even care if you're the whaliest whale of all time. These characters are going to be very strong to have one or two of them leveled up, and this is because of Steal Heart / Steal Time. Steal Heart is going to be very strong because it has a pretty high multiplier as a faith mod. So it's going to be based on your faith plus the target's faith divided by 2, because it's a 50% chance. So your faith plus the target's faith times 0.5 basically. So if you have a 97 faith thief and the enemy has 30 faith, 50 faith, something around there, you're gonna have like an 80%, 85% chance to charm them, which means even if you're just taking a character to fill a slot, right? You're doing towers, so you need to bring something. You don't have a lot of characters leveled up. You don't have a lot of invested stuff in gear and time and JP and all these things. You can take Steal Heart and start running around with your super fast thief on all these different characters, and you will charm them. A very, very high success rate to charm these different ads running around these boss battles. And what that's going to do, it's going to turn those enemies to allies, and those enemies are going to run around for 3 turns, start attacking what you're trying to beat. And charm is very powerful because it's not like confusion. Confusion, they just kind of run around and hit whatever. They'll hit you, they'll hit their enemies, they'll auto attack whatever. Charm, they will only attack the enemies, and charm will actually allow them to use skills. So if you charm like a mage, that mage isn't just going to run up and bop their enemies with a staff hit. That mage is going to start dropping flares and Faragas and Blazagas on the enemies you're trying to beat. So Steal Heart is very, very powerful when trying to control different ads. So look at these thieves here. Steal Charm if they have them, or Steal Heart if they have them. Very powerful thief ability. Max out your faith, Steal Heart. I do believe all of these characters that we're mentioning here, they all have access to Steal Charm Steel, I keep calling it Steel Charm, guys. Steel Heart. Okay, Steel Heart. Now, the other one to talk about here is Steel Time. So Steel Heart's very good for taking out the enemies that are ads, right? Very small, you know, they're not the bosses. There's a bunch of them. You kind of want to crowd control them. This is going to crowd control them and help you defeat the other ones that aren't crowd controlled at the same time. The other one to talk about, though, is Steel Time. So Steel Time is very strong, too, when used against bosses. This is because what Steel Time does is it reduces their current CT gauge by half. So we talked about this a little bit, right? By reducing agility with Naya, their enemies are going to have slower turns, which in turn means that you're going to be able to hit it more before it takes their turn, which means it's going to allow you to have an opportunity to build chains, right? Chains are huge in this game, so each chain is going to increase your damage by a substantial amount, especially if you're going in there with elemental chains using a couple of characters of the same type. But as long as you're using the characters that match either element or they match damage type, right? Slashing, piercing, striking, whatever, you're going to be building chains on these bosses, and it's going to allow you to do a huge amount of damage. Now, why does Steel Heart matter? Steel Heart matters because it takes away half of their current gauge. So you give them agility down, and your thief's about to take their turn. Your thief gets their turn, and you look at the boss. The boss has, you know, he's going to have a turn in a couple of turns, and he's got 80 CT. He's got 90 CT. You use Steel Heart on it. No longer does he have 80 CT. He has 40 CT. You just cut that. You cut that CT gauge in half, and now your other characters are taking more turns. And not only does Steel Heart, or not Steel Heart, excuse me, I'm getting mixed up with Steel Heart and Steel Time. Not only does Steel Time reduce that CT gauge by 50% there, guys, but it also will give an agility buff to the thief as well, which helps them take their turn faster again. So if you have like a couple of these thieves leveled up, you go into a boss fight with 6 people, the 2 thieves at the start, they're running around Steel Hearting everything, which you can do right away because it costs TP. You start Steel Hearting everything. They're on ad control. You're reducing the damage that the ads are doing to your party because the ads are now attacking their former friends. And then when it comes down to the boss killing time, you have your tank, maybe, you know, a support, and then 2 damage dealers in your thieves. Your thieves run up, and they just start Steel Timing over and over and over and over, while your tank and your 2 damage dealers start building chains on it. And every other attack with the thief, one of your thieves will do damage with slashing, the other thief will steal time, and then the thief that it just stole time is going to do some damage with mug or something, and then the other thief steal times. You're going to be able to build chain 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 with these characters, and you're going to be able to do a bunch of damage with a team composition like that. So if you're looking for a character, you already had all this other stuff fleshed out. You already had your healer, you already had some damage dealers. If you need something else in your party, right? Thief is something that you could be looking into for actually using an end game, due to the fact that they have Steel Charm, Steel Heart. Comment down below how many times I've said Steel Charm. I know somebody has followed. it. But Steel Heart and Steel Time, they're going to be useful a ton. Even if they don't have the best gear, because we just talked about it, they're not there to do damage. They're there to crowd control and allow you to kill the boss. Zazan's an end rank character that you can level up for free. He's got 6 movement. He's out there doing work. Mia's an R unit, Vadim, and then Vistrali is out there as Vistral, not Vistrali. Vistral's out there. Vistral's gonna be the best one, but also takes the most amount of effort to level up because he's MR. And you have Vadim, who's gonna be the second best one, but is an SR. And then you have the Mia, which is R, which is gonna be one of the easier ones to level up. And you're going to have Zazan, which is the easiest one, but the weakest one. So Zazan's the weakest, Mia's the second weakest, Vadim is the third strongest, and then we have Vistral, which is the strongest character, and strength and effort to level them up, and materials required go up based on their rarity. So that's going to be that. That's hopefully going to give you guys a good idea of what characters to look into when looking for non-UR characters in War of the Visions. A lot of the characters in this game are applicable, and they do good things. There's so many characters, not a whole bunch of them are actually super bad, but these are the ones that, guys, are the most worthwhile in your investment. You can kind of make any character worth it and usable, but there's always going to be people who are better than everything else based on how they do things and what they can offer to your team. So if you want to see more stuff on War of the Visions, guys, go ahead, leave a comment down below what character you didn't see on this list that you wanted there, or what character you were the most surprised by being on this list. And for future content, we'll see you on the channel. Hit that subscribe button, notification bell on, and until then, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe out there. I'll catch you later.